How much does it cost to relocate to a new city? The answer is not as much as you would think. Recently, I moved from Birmingham, Alabama to Salt Lake City, Utah. And I was researching how much money it was going to cost for me to move here. I read several articles. Most of them recommended $10,000. Other articles, at a minimum, $15,000. So that's what I did. I saved $15,000 and I set out on my great adventure. And so how much did it actually cost for me to move? I have been here for roughly a month, maybe a month and a half, depending on how you count it. And I have spent just under $3,000. Okay. Nowhere near $15,000. You don't need that much money. You don't need $10,000. You don't even need $5,000 really. Within a week of arriving, I was able to find a job and make back roughly $1,600. So total cost, I'm out, I don't know, $1,400 maybe. Which is not that bad, I don't think. Okay, so the biggest cost is obviously going to be a place to stay. Right now I'm staying in an extended stay hotel, and it costs roughly $1,500 a month to stay here, which is pretty high considering that where I'm from, you can rent an entire house for less than that. So that's quite a lot. That being said, in this area, if you're wanting to rent a decent small apartment, it's going to cost you anywhere between $1,200 and $1,500 at a minimum, not including utilities and other fees that they add on top of that. I'm not going to be staying here permanently. I'm not a resident of Utah. I will be going back to Alabama eventually. Right now my plan is to stay in Salt Lake over the winter and experience snow and skiing and all of that stuff, and then head back to Alabama in the spring, probably around March or maybe April. That is unless something dramatic happens, such as if I get some kind of massive pay raise or find a really good job out here or find a better job out here, or I don't know, even crazier, get married or something. Unlikely. But if something like that happens, then I might end up staying a little while longer. But as of right now, plan is to leave in spring. And for that reason, I'm not exactly looking for a permanent residence. I don't want to sign any leases and be locked in here for a year. I'm going to be gone in about 6 months. So right now I'm just living abroad. I'm not a resident of Utah. I have no desire to become a resident of Utah. My home is in Alabama and always will be. The total cost for places to stay was about $1,736, and that includes this room that I'm staying in here for a month is the vast majority of that. And then I also stayed in a small motel in Colorado for a night, which cost me about $130. And I also stayed at a Super 8 the first night that I arrived, because I arrived a night early, and so I had to find a place to stay. That cost me about $70. If you are willing to do like an Airbnb where you rent out just a one bedroom in someone's house, you could probably do it for way less per month. That being said, Airbnb is still really expensive, and you also have to put up with the host and living with somebody, and so that's why I went with extended stay motel, to not have to deal with that. And then the next biggest expense is food. So far I have spent around $750. That being said, it doesn't matter if you're traveling or not, you still have to eat. So I really don't see that as being an actual expense, because it wouldn't matter whether I was here or whether I was back home. I would still have to pay to eat. Gas, it cost me about $350 to drive out here. If you have a vehicle that gets better gas mileage, you could cut that in half. I get about 18 miles per gallon in my van. And I've spent about $150 on miscellaneous things, such as I have a couple of subscriptions to Spotify, Hulu, which I recently canceled Hulu just because it's just garbage, and they went up. They went up, guys. They went up. And I was like, you know what, I don't want to pay for this anymore. I pay for YouTube Premium, so that's another expense monthly expense I pay. These are all things, though, that I would normally be paying, so I don't know if you can really count this in here. Entertainment, I spent like $20 going to an aquarium. I went to a concert that cost like $20, so not really a whole lot of money there. So overall, like I said, about $3,000, maybe a little less. And then I made back $1,600 from a couple of paychecks. So, I'm doing pretty good, really. I don't know where people are coming up with these numbers that you need $10,000 or $15,000 to move to a new city. That's absolutely ridiculous, especially if you have a credit card and you have a job already lined up. You don't really have to save any money. You can charge any of your upfront expenses to your card, and then once you get your job, you can pay it back off. So, it's not, $10,000. That's just crazy, okay? It doesn't take that much money to do this. Anyone can do it. If you're stuck in your hometown and you're wanting to get out and explore the country, you can do it for not a whole lot of money. Anyone can, really. It's not unattainable. I would say, though, realistically, if you're going to do it, I would save at least $3,000 and have a credit card ready just in case. That being said, I don't recommend ever using a credit card unless you already have the money to pay it off completely. You should never carry a balance on a credit card. Don't get into debt ever. There's never an excuse to get in debt. Being in debt is how you become a slave. Debt is what keeps you held back. It keeps you in one place, and it keeps you from achieving your dreams. You can do things with very little money. It is a lie that it cost a lot of money to do things. This whole trip out here is a great example of that. It's cost me next to nothing to do this. No debt, no anything. They tell you you can't do things so that you have to go in debt. That's what they want. If they can get you in debt, they can control you. And my goal in my life is to never be in debt. I don't have a whole lot, though, and it's really hard, really hard. And it sucks when, you go out. It sucks, when you're leaving work and you're in this old, terrifying, rusty, scary van, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's with this guy? This guy's kind of sketchy." What they don't see, though, is that I have a higher net worth than they do. They may have a new car, but that car doesn't belong to them. That car belongs to the bank. And if the bank owns your car, then the bank owns you. I'm not owned by anybody. I am a free man, and I intend to keep it that way. If you already have a job lined up in another city, you could do it for even less. If you know somebody that is in the new city where you're moving to that will let you stay in their place, you could do it for even less. Best case scenario, I would say you could move to a new city for under $500, really. That's assuming you know somebody that lives there that will let you stay with them for the first month, and you already have a job lined up, and your biggest expense is going to be gas and food. So I don't know why they like to make people think that it costs a lot of money. Maybe they're trying to keep people where they're at. I don't know. If we think back to the old days, though, let's think way back to the time of Brigham Young. I mean, they literally just walked across. And if you want it enough, if you really want something enough, you can do it. It doesn't matter about the amount of money you can have. You could probably, I would say, really, you could do it for free if you wanted to. You could do it without spending any money at all. If you really, really wanted to. It would be very hard, but you could do it. It's all about how much you want and your determination. Would I recommend doing it? I don't know, maybe. I'm having a good time. I am going back, though. I don't plan on staying here. It's way too expensive here in Utah. I make basically the same amount of money here that I made back in Alabama, except the cost of living here is double. So it doesn't really make much sense for me to stay here. I'm going to be headed back to Alabama in the spring. And I have plans. I have plans in Alabama, guys, and they are exciting. I'm thinking about building a house myself. I'm working on a design, and I'm getting excited about it. I can see it. I'm coming up with a budget with how much it's going to cost to build. My goal is to do it for under $100,000. I'm going to buy some cheap land and just build the thing myself, which will be interesting. That's coming up in spring, provided something crazy doesn't happen. So that's something we can all look forward to.